Hi everyone, I'm Jay West and our show is called Directions. Directions is all about transitions in life that often surprise us and how we handle those transitions. If you're a believer in God or not a believer, if you have good friends or don't have good friends, you have good support, don't have good support, how you work through the transitions and how they affect your life positively or negatively. And many times on the show, I've dealt with negative transitions of people who are battling stage 4 cancer, or their children died, or they went through a divorce, or in a couple cases, children were murdered, and or family members were murdered, and all of the ins and outs of all of that. And today I thought I'd talk a little bit about positive transitions and some of the things that have taken me by surprise. I want to go like this, surprise, and it's one of those, I'm not real good with surprises. I like to know what's coming up. But I'm okay with surprises when I realize that the person who offered me the surprise really does care for me. And so surprises have been a blessing in my life many times. And I'm intentionally wearing my Washington hat. Now this is from, I believe, one of the Washington teams in Washington, D.C. But one of the surprises in my life started way back in 2011 when a pastor in Sacramento named Samuel Rodriguez had a ministry to political leaders called the United States Prayer Council, and I was contacted here in Nebraska saying, we need a Nebraska representative for the United States Prayer Council. Would you like to do it? And I said, well, what does that mean? What does it entail? How much time is going to be involved? What will it cost me, et cetera, et cetera? And I was told simply, well, you just pray with political leaders or public servants. That's another term for political leaders, or the arena, if you will, for the people I'm supposed to pray for. Because not everybody's in a political realm like a police chief or a fire chief, but public servants. And so I was like, well, I guess I could do that. I've been in Omaha now 11 years, but then I honestly said, I only know 2 political leaders. And they said, well, who is that? And I said, one is a former mayor of Omaha. His name was Hal Dobb, and he's white. And I said, the other one is the Douglas County treasurer, and he's black, and his name is John Ewing. And one was a Republican, and one was a Democrat. They were like totally opposite on the spectrum, but they were personal friends of mine. And they said, well, just start with those 2 and then branch out and see where it goes. So I was like, okay, how is this going to work? But I agreed to do it, thinking, it's not going to amount to too much. It won't be too much time. Well, I was really wrong on how much time was involved, because the more I interact, and I started with those 2, and the more I interacted, more people recommended me to others. And initially it was locally here in the city of Omaha, and various police chiefs. We lived in Bellevue at the time, and I got to know the police chief there, and the mayor of La Vista, and the mayor of Papillion, and the mayor of Springfield, and the mayor of Ralston, and it just went on from there, and then to other state officials, eventually praying with the governor, the lieutenant governor, state senators, and from there it branched out to other states, multiple other states, and now in Washington, D.C., and I'm 14 years down the road of still doing this. And I went to Washington, D.C. 4 times last year. I'm going to Washington, D.C. in just a few weeks from now, and I've been asked by former U.S. Senator for 14 years, former Kansas governor for 7 years, former ambassador of religious freedom for 3 years, Sam Brownback, to be the prayer coordinator for a conference he hosts in Washington, D.C. called the International Freedom of Religion Summit. And religious leaders from all over the world are coming. Several thousand people will show up. Last year they had people there from 81 nations. And I've been asked to direct the prayer ministry for all of this. And And so I've put together a team. I've got a team of 18 to 20 people on site and another 14 or 15 remote. And it's much larger than normal, but I just felt led of the Lord to do that. My point is 14 years down the road from this very small start, way back in 2011, where I only knew 2 political leaders. One, again, I would have shared who they were and their roles and so on. And it was interesting that John Ewing at the time was not the mayor, but he is the mayor of Omaha now. And he's been a blessing in my life for many, many years. He and his wife attended the funeral of my first wife who passed away 5 years ago. And then he and his wife also attended the wedding to Rebecca, just 3 years ago. And we've been at their home, they've been in our home, gotten to meet with them, have meals with them, share with them. And so a lot of the relationships have developed into personal friendships with my congressmen, with lieutenant governors, with senators, congressmen, judges, federal judges, state Supreme Court justices in Indiana, in Texas, Missouri, lieutenant governor of Hawaii. The list goes on and on and on. I'm not trying to be someone special in naming these. I'm just kind of giving you a wide scope, if you will, of the influence that has happened as a result of being asked to do this 14 years ago. The Bible says, don't despise the small beginnings. I had a very small beginning in this. And now it's just keeps on expanding and getting bigger. I'm blessed to speak in Kansas for the state prayer breakfast. For all the legislators and the senators, I'll be speaking there in February. I get to talk to them an hour about prayer and answers to prayer, miraculous answers to prayer from God. Last year, I was blessed to be the speaker on National Day of Prayer at the Capitol in Salem, Oregon, and also for a luncheon in Portland, Oregon. And so the doors keep opening up. And they're transitions. And oftentimes transitions in your life and my life are good, even though they start as something small. We don't have a clue what's going to happen. We just agree to help somebody. And it mushrooms into something bigger and something larger. And we find ourselves having influence. The word influence comes from the word influenza. And we all know what influenza is because you have the option of getting a flu shot each year to help you avoid influenza. And influenza means in the flu. And who wants to be in the flu? I don't. We've all been sick with the flu at one time or another, and we don't want that. But influence actually means in the flow. So moving from in the flu to in the flow. And so I'm in the flow in Washington now, but also statewide and other places too. And again, I didn't even ask for this. I didn't even know this position existed. And it was completely volunteer, and I don't get any pay for it. I don't get any income. Every time I go to Washington, I have to pay for my airfare, my hotel, my Uber rides, my food. The list goes on and on. But the overall effectiveness and the growth, personal growth for me, and along with the people that I'm helping, is valuable. It's worthwhile. And so, it's like we go through stuff, and it's surprise. It's like I want to throw my hat up in the air and catch it and have the balloons come down and everything else. Meeting Rebecca was a surprise. It was a surprise to her. It was a surprise to me. And like with our last guest that I had on, Shenzo Bose, who's now married to the retired fire chief of Papillion, and he's running for district level congressional legislator here in Nebraska. This is a surprise to them. We have a lot of surprises that ended up being really, really good. And you probably, who are watching, you can remember surprises. You can remember times in your life, maybe you're in the middle of them right now, that it's like, okay, this took me by surprise. I didn't anticipate this job coming. I did not anticipate this investment doing that well. I did not fully comprehend how good a relationship this was going to be. I'm meeting with a man for lunch today. His name is Dan Claxton, and he has Claxton Fireplace here in town. And years ago, when I moved to a town, and we moved here in 2000, when I moved to a town, and you don't know anybody, you need referrals. When you need a business leader, when you need a plumber, when you need a landscaper, when you need an electrician, you go to other people. At least I do. I don't read ads on billboards. I don't get on the internet and read ratings about various companies. I call people, and usually I call the big churches in town and say, hey, do you have a plumber? You have a good one in your staff? Do you have a good carpenter? Do you have a good bricklayer? And I get these referrals. Well, I remember calling one of the churches here in town, and I needed a fireplace guy. His name, somebody referred me, Dan Claxton. And Dan has, in the 3 different houses I've been in, we've put in 3 different gas fireplaces. And he's a man of God. He's a man of integrity. His business, I've watched it grow from a very small little storefront thing to something really big now, the big warehouse and company. But he operates with principles of integrity and kindness and generosity and does a great job. And so what became a fireplace chimney cleaning event back in 2001 has now morphed into a deeper friendship, relationship, doing things together that we couldn't do alone, helping other people, assisting, promoting, blessing, sometimes inspiring, sometimes challenging. And those are the things, those are the transitions, the happy times, the surprise. Dan's a surprise, because when you hire somebody, you don't know that they're going to become a friend. You have no clue. You're just hiring somebody to do some work at your house because they were recommended to you. And, we've had some bad contractors and different things too. The recommendation didn't really pan out the way we had thought or hoped it would. But when the good ones happen, they become friends. I mean, Dan's been a friend now for 24 years. And that's a good thing. That's a blessing. And so, it's similar to, I was just in the hospital recently. That was a surprise. 3 weeks ago, woke up on a Sunday morning and I was disoriented. And I had some memory lapses. I knew where I was. I knew who my wife was, but I couldn't tell you what day it was. And I couldn't remember where we were going that morning. And there was a number of things that were like alarming to my wife, Rebecca. And so she decided to take me to the hospital. But I was able to get dressed on my own. I was able to get ready on my own. I could tie my shoes, I could walk. I knew where the car was. I knew different things. And there's certain aspects of that morning that I remember. I remember talking to the security guard going into the ER at Methodist Hospital. I remember filling out the forms a little bit that morning, checking into the hospital when they decided I needed some tests, but I don't remember other aspects. I don't remember them putting the IV in my arm and doing a blood test. I don't remember the MRI. I don't remember the CAT scan. I don't remember any of that. I have like a 6-hour block of time where it's just gone. And it's something called, which they diagnosed me as transient global amnesia. And that was a surprise. And it's very rare. They're not really sure what causes it. They have some ideas, but they're not really sure. And there's no known treatment. There's no known prescription. It just kind of normally wears off. And like less than 10% of people who ever have it again. It's a one-time event for most people. And so they kept me in the hospital overnight. And one of the things about being in that hospital was I knew a lot of the doctors and some of the nurses and different things because my previous wife had died in that hospital. So that was kind of weird to be in the same hospital. But simultaneously, I know that hospital. And so that was helpful to me. And again, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if it was a heart-related issue or mental-related, stroke-related. All those things were ruled out. The MRI was clear. The CAT scan was clear. The echocardiogram of my heart was clear. Everything was normal. And so after about 6 hours, my memory started coming back. And Rebecca's in the room with me, and my son is now there. And this is a big surprise. And I'm like I'm still a little bit foggy. What's going on? They're telling me. And, I spent the night. I stayed there for observation. And they released me the next day, and I've been fine since. And we even asked, is it okay to travel? Because we knew that a week later, we were supposed to fly to Arizona, which we did. The doctor said, yeah, you can fly. This is what it's called, transient global amnesia, and a new term, a new thing to walk through, a new area of my life that I will reflect on and testify of the goodness of God in the hospital, and how good the doctors were, and the nurses overall. In fact, I just filled out the evaluation form yesterday, and but it was a surprise. And I've gone through lots of stuff in my life. I don't understand why I've gone through so many things medically. I've gone through kidney stones, a mild heart attack, arthritis, skin cancer, 4 hernia surgeries. For a guy that prays for the sick a lot, I've been sick a lot, but God's brought me through every single one of them. And here I sit before you today. I'm 69 years old. And my meds have just been reduced yesterday by the cardiologist that I've been on since the mild heart attack 3 years ago. It's been reduced because I lost nearly 50 pounds. And my blood pressure is normal, and my cholesterol is normal. In fact, I intentionally did a physical, and all my labs they said are either normal or perfect. I thought, wow, that's great, and then having these extra tests, couldn't find anything wrong with me, and it's like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great about life, happy to be alive, and married to Rebecca, and traveling as much as I am. As I produce this show or record it, again, nothing that I've done. It's all doors that God has opened up. But, going into 2026, I have 10 or 12 ministry trips already set up through May. Went on 19 last year, so already well on the way to even surpass last year, which surpassed the year before, which only had 10 or 12. And so I just see the doors opening up, and going to be writing my 6th book soon. I'm going to start on that. I brought one of my books with me. It's called Well, Well, Well. And the reason I brought this book, writing books was a surprise. I remember when I wrote my first book in 2012, and I thought, all right, I finally did it. I wrote a book, that's enough. I don't need to do another one. And my previous wife at that time said, you should write another book. And I was like, no, I don't need to write another book. But, I wrote another one, then another one, then another one. I've done 5 now. Okay, well, that's not a lot. But, because I have friends that have written a whole lot more than that. But most people don't even write one book. And this is kind of a play on words, well, well, well. God still heals today. And just the stories in here of the amazing ways that God has done things. And so it was a surprise. It was a surprise. And I was surprised that they actually sell. Just got a surprise. I don't write books to make money. I'll be honest, I don't. I write books to get a message out. But the fact that they make money and have been a blessing to me is encouraging. And you can find my books on by emailing me. It's scrolling on the screen there if you want, and I can give you information. I got 5 books, and I can share about those if you're interested. But it's a surprise, and there's surprises in life. And I'm just amazed. At age 69, I get to do what I get to do. And I get to be and travel. I get to go, just in the next few months, I'm going to the East Coast, I'm going to Washington, and I'm going to the West Coast, I'm going to the other Washington, I'm going to fly in the state of Washington, I'm going to Washington, D.C. and Washington, and go up to Idaho, and I'm going to California, I'm going to Texas, I'm going all the way north to Duluth, Minnesota. So it's like north, south, east, west, and these doors are flying open, and it's a blessing, and it's encouraging. And I want you to think about it, though you're watching, the transitions in your life. Don't always think about all the bad stuff that's going on. Focus on the good. There's a passage in Philippians that says, don't be anxious about anything, but with prayer and supplication, and it adds in, and thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And then it goes on and says, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Many people are lacking peace because we get anxious about life. We get anxious about all the negative stuff, the medical bills and the doctor appointments and the car repair and in job security and our investments and how our children are doing and how our grandchildren are doing and how our neighbors are affecting our life, and just bombarded with, we do like the president, we don't like the president, we're Republican, we're Democrat, we don't like the opposite party. It just goes on and on. There's all this potential stress coming at us all over the place. And God's saying, don't have anxiety about this. He talks about, don't worry about tomorrow. Today has enough cares for it. Don't be so worried about tomorrow. And there's two things in life that I think affect us negatively. And I've already mentioned one: anxiousness, anxiety. Anxiety almost always deals with the future. What's coming up? What's going to happen tomorrow? How am I going to make it? I live paycheck to paycheck. I've got more bills than income. I've got more problems than successes. My marriage is on the rocks. My kids are in trouble. Whatever it is your thoughts are that are negative, that are controlling your environment. And so you get worried about that. And the Bible says, don't fret. It only causes harm. And it's like we worry about so many things, and anxiety deals with the future. But then there's another area of our life that deals with the past. It's called regret. And regret almost always is something we've done already. We regret investing in that. We regret choosing that doctor. We regret taking that trip. We regret traveling that way because we traveled that way and there was an accident. We got involved in this relationship and it went south. We took on this dead-end job. We thought it would work and it didn't work. And we have all these decisions where we made, we got involved in something and we made a decision and it didn't go the way we thought it would. And so we have regret about it. Or just, I regret saying that. How many times do we regret saying something? I'm there, okay? I shouldn't have said that. I spoke out of turn. I was unkind. It wasn't a compliment. I thought it was going to be good, and I saw the person's face frown. I go, oh no, that's not what I wanted. And yet it affected them, and so we regret it. And we live there. It's football season right now, and we're looking at the final four college teams for the national playoffs, and then the pros, they're going to the playoffs, but the teams that didn't make it right now, coaches are being fired in the college level and the pro level because their team didn't make it, and some coaches have been there for 15 years, but they had a bad season and they're fired, and it's like, oh, if only we would have won one more game. It's like one more game we would have been in the playoffs. But you didn't win it. Now the consequences are they're being replaced, being fired, and somebody else is going to come in. And I get it. I understand leadership qualities and everything else, but simultaneously, the same can happen in your business. You're a salesman. You got to perform. You got to make so many sales of whatever you're selling for your company, or after a while, they're going to let you go. And so there's always this aspect of, how am I going to do it? How am I going to make the transition? How am I going to get there? And I'm here to just say, trust God, and I get it. That's easier said than done, but I've walked the path. You talk about sickness, I've had skin cancer. A lot of these testimonies I've shared, I had skin cancer in my ear where they were going to cut off my ear, and God supernaturally healed it. I had irritable bowel syndrome for 3 years, where pain was my number one symptom. Somebody was trying to drill their way out of my stomach with a sharp two-edged knife. I would wake myself up at night crying, and my wife would pray for me, and I'd fall back asleep. I had arthritis in my thumbs, and I had shots in my thumbs every 3 months right here. And I think the last shot was 12 years ago, but there was several years of just walking through pain. And I used to have really bad knee pain because I was overweight. And I had neck and shoulder pain for 26 years. And I had kidney stones, and I had a mild heart attack, and I had 4 hernia surgeries. And I had, the list just kind of goes on and on, all these various things. And it's like, why me? I remember I've been in 2 car accidents. I've been T-boned twice, once by a car, once by a semi-truck, and we were strapped in the car. They had to use the jaws of life to get me out of the car on a snowy night, and the windows are broken. It was 20 degrees, and the snow was blowing through the car, and I just had to sit there and freeze and wait for them to extract me from the car with using the jaws of life, pulling the door away from me. We all go through stuff. And if I just focus on all that negative, I could be a real negative person. But I focus on the positive. I focus on the blessing. I try to stay upbeat and encouraged. There's a passage in the Bible where David was just overwhelmed with grief. He came back to Ziklag, and it said, and if you don't know what Ziklag is, it's just a city, and he came back, and his whole town had been ransacked. All their families had been kidnapped, and the soldiers that were with him, they wanted to kill David, and it said he got alone, he encouraged himself in the Lord. Sometimes you just have to encourage yourself. You almost have to slap yourself and say, hey, snap out of this, Jay. It's not that bad, okay? I'm still breathing. I say, if you're still breathing, you've got something to do for God. And right now, I'm in the best health, I think, in my entire life. At 69 years old, I'm in the best health. And yeah, I'm still on some meds from my heart thing, but like I said, they were just reduced. They were cut in half yesterday, 50% cut in half. And the goal was 6 months from now to get completely off of those. You know, if I keep my weight off and keep exercising, joined the health club this week, started lifting weights. I've been walking 5 to 8 miles every day and trying to get healthy, try to live right. Got my spiritual walk, got my physical walk, got my emotional life back, got my love life back with Rebecca. You've seen her in some of the shows. These are all positive things. Focus on the positive in your life. Let God influence you. Get around some good friends to support you, encourage you. Pray more. Eat healthy. Drink lots of water. Stay hydrated. Exercise. Even if it's just, I encouraged somebody this week, said, I'm so overweight, I don't know where to start. I said, just walk down the block and back. Start slow and gradually build up, and God will bless you. So my encouragement to you this week is look for the blessings. A good definition of blessed means empowered to prosper and be in control of your life regardless, in every situation. Be in control of every situation regardless. Empowered to prosper. I think God will help you. And so I pray that God will bless you as you watch this week, and let your transitions be good, and enjoy life going into 2026 and have an amazing time. I'm going to Washington. Maybe you can join me sometime. Thanks a lot for tuning in. God bless you. We'll see you on Directions next time. Surprise!